It's just something that has never been explored before, I think, So it doesn't have to be realistic all the time, in my opinion. It doesn't have, photography doesn't have to be realistic. Not anymore for me.
Today I'm in Vienna talking to a true analog artist, a larger-than-life person, a guitar virtuoso, and his version of Caribbean Queen will stick with you for the rest of your life. His name is Mahir Jahmal, and today we're talking cameras. Mahir, thanks for taking the time.
You're welcome.
We're here in your beautiful studio and also living space, right?
Yeah, it's my apartment and my studio, my showroom, my darkroom. It's where I work.
You're more like an artist for me, because what you do is it doesn't end in taking the picture and then going on the computer and then retouching it. What you do is large format photography.
Yeah.
I don't think many people know what that is, but we'll get into that later. What I want to know is what got you, what is your first recollection of photography? Not you, it could be a family member or whatever.
How I first started out is funny because you mentioned, when you arrived, you mentioned Patrick Domingo. And it started all like 17 years ago. And so I brought my first camera, and I was hanging out with Patrick like so much, we're best friends, and he was a photographer, and he's still a photographer, and like he always had his camera with him, and I got curious and stuff. I was like, how does it work? And he was like, show me how do you take a picture, and the aperture and the shutter speed and the ISO and stuff. And at that point I got curious, so I bought my first analog camera. It didn't really work quite well, the camera, so I had to give it back. And he told me like, hey, start with this camera, right? I think it was a Nikon D80, was the first one. And that's how I started, digital. And I started like doing, like just taking photographs, and as you start, you just take pictures of everything, And at some point I also noticed, I did some like gigs, I did some jobs, and I noticed like that's not my thing, I went to like a commercial school, Hack-Hetzendorf. And I missed one semester. It was like an evening school. So I missed one semester, so I couldn't take this one semester. And I applied for the Angewandte and for the University of Applied Arts, 2009. And since then I studied fine arts. So I do fine arts.
What was your, going even before that, was any family member, any friend, anyone before Patrick that was your, like, okay, photography is cool, or I need that in my life?
Actually, no. Just kind of because I'm an aesthetic guy, Maybe it's because I'm a Libra.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm super aesthetic, and photography was
expression.
One media of aesthetics, also music. I play guitar now for 22 years, and I started with keyboard 25 years. I was a musician part-time when I was studying fine arts. I was on tour with Milky Chance, if you know the band, I don't know. And with James Hersey. Actually was on tour with James, and we were supporting on tour with Milky Chance.
Wow.
So support band. So I had to choose one thing, and my professor told me, hey, you either do music and go on tour, or you keep on studying, do this. And that's what got me like back on track. And
So you started off with a Nikon D80 in digital.
Yeah.
What came after that?
After that came a D200. And I don't know how I fucked this camera up somehow with the shutter. Something, I don't know what happened. So actually, this was my favorite camera. I really love the colors of the D200. And after that came the D800E, which I still work with, for 7 years now. And I'm not the kind of guy who buys like the newest camera all the time.
Well, that's good. That's very good.
I also never update. If it works, it works,
Keep it running.
If it's broken, then...
When when and where was the switch to analog?
Actually, like when I started at university, we had like the darkroom and stuff, and they gave us some darkroom techniques and everything in photography from the darkroom, from film photography, from the camera technique till the digital, till the scanning, till the studio, till portfolio and stuff. So I had to go through everything. Analog darkroom work was like very interesting. It is still interesting, and it amazes me every time I'm in a darkroom. And it's always a surprise for me. You can plan stuff, of course. You know, you can check on the shutter, the exposure time and stuff. But the way I do stuff, it's always a surprise.
But that's amazing. I think it's scary at one point, probably because you're like, I want this vibe, and then something maybe slightly different comes out because you're working with chemicals and you're working with film that is maybe not as true to the color as you would have probably liked. But I think that there's some sort of, chemistry is the right word, in where something happens that you cannot predict, which is sometimes, I think, very nice.
Yeah, the thing is like the way I do stuff is like, you know, I don't want to like maybe talk too much about my technique, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to like...
you don't want any...
I don't want to spoil it, but the thing is like the way I do stuff, you know, for me, it's not too much about, for example, I flew to New York for a project. I did a shot list and I took photographs, for example, of Dumbo or that Iron Building and stuff. So there's one part of photography was like, okay, it's standard architecture photography, for example, you know, and the right exposure, everything, you know, right timing and of course, architecture, you know. And then you got the second part, you know, where I come back, I develop the film, you know, and then I do my twist in the darkroom. And for me, it's not about coming back and exhibit New York again, you know. It's for me in photography is like to break stereotypes of photography. How can I show another view of photography? How much can I get out of photography? I see myself as like the Jimi Hendrix of photography, because photography is a new media, you know, and the electric guitar was a new, you know, instrument back then, and Jimi Hendrix was the guy who was like, he made new sounds, you know. He reinvented it. Coming here to this interview, I obviously looked through your website and through your portfolio, and it's so interesting. And also just stepping into your apartment here, into your studio here, is like there is stuff everywhere on the wall, which is fantastic. And this is how it has to be. I think every photographer out there, even if you only do it for yourself, and the only is like, just do it for yourself, because that's, I think, why I'm in this art. Sometimes we think we have to push it out to other people to be appreciated. Yeah. Man, if you don't appreciate it yourself, that's true. No one else should appreciate it, because that's what you spend so much time, so much energy into this. So you just put it on the wall, and this is really amazing. And you tried to explain it to me in Sardinia what you do, and I obviously looked it up. But it's, as you just said, stepping in is that it becomes, or that the photography gets this three-dimensional form, and this texture makes it come to life. And I've actually really never seen it this way. I've seen stuff where like painters would go into three-dimensional. They would add structure into something. But in photography, this is super interesting. Tell us about the big kahuna in there. Large format camera. Yeah. I've been using the large format camera now for, I'm not sure about, maybe it's 6 years. I'm very pragmatic, to be honest, you know. And I would say sometimes, maybe it's not a good term, but I'm the laziest photographer ever. Okay. And I say that because I always have the camera on the tripod, you know. And I have like, even when I do like portraits, you know, I always have the camera on the tripod. And I try like to do try to be more efficient than just taking a lot of photographs. It's like quality over quantity, you know. And it's the same with large format, because you can't take so many pictures. You got your cassettes. Every cassette, you got like 2 films, you know, 2 photographs, and you got to choose wisely. And that's the thing. It's perfect how you explained that. How big is the film in a large format? Do you know? It's 4 or 5 inch, but I don't know how like 4 by 5 inch. Yeah. Okay. Everything bigger, I won't do everything bigger. There's 8 by 10 inch, but that's too expensive also. Yeah. But now I want to go back, actually, to be honest, because I went to the Helmut Newton exhibition recently, and when I saw his stuff, I really missed the grain because with large format everything's like super crisp, and that's what I kind of miss. In the blacks,
when it's
in the grayscale, also in the blacks when you have like this graininess, and
it also has to do something with texture probably that would like benefit your shots probably. What type of camera is it? Like to explain it to someone that has never seen a camera.
So
large format camera.
I always call it like the harmonica, like the T harmonica. For
harmonica,
the people. If I go like, I have a large format camera, so what's that, And it's a camera that mostly people use for product shots, or for architecture. And the thing about the camera is that you can how you say the focus can be from the one edge to the other. So you have like a
super insane depth of field.
As I already said, the first like phase of photography when I do architecture is like trying to get like a good negative, and which is not distorted, and then in the end I do something completely different.
So it's only that this is the starting part, and then you go into another creative process. That's amazing, man! I'm so excited. I just saw your shooting a portrait of a friend of Nadif. Just saw the behind the scenes, and then the actual negative that you did, which was very nice and crisp. It was a nice portrait shot, but the end thing that came out was just so vastly different. And it's also, and this is what I love about your art, is like it's open to discussion. What you feel, what you see, what you get, because you add this dimension of basically destroying the photograph. It's or taking it apart or like deconstructing it.
It's the one thing is it is still photography. It's just something that has never been explored before, I think, So it doesn't have to be realistic all the time, in my opinion. Photography doesn't have to be realistic. Not anymore for me. So I create something that never existed. Maybe that's the link to painting. That's what I also have. I have a link to I link my stuff to painting. I link my stuff to sculpture, because my photographs. When I talk about photographs, I'm talking about the actual photograph you have in your hand. And it's really like
it's physical.
It's physical. It has a body, And that's what I sell, I sell the photograph, the body, and it's unique because I cannot reproduce it. I don't have editions because I can't do it. I can take the same like negative. And do like some other like variants, It will never look the same.
It's a one of one.
That's one of one. Always.
It's always a one of one. I'm also interested with architectural photography. It's obviously setting the right time, the right light, etc. It's about the planning. But when you do a lot of portraits, do you go deep into the personality of the person? Do you have to sit down with them before? Do you want to talk with them, or do you just, as you said, you're a pragmatic and a lazy photographer, which I don't think it's just the way of you doing it. Is that nobody says you have to overdo it. This is actually one thing that I hate sometimes. Is like, we have to do everything perfect. No, just do it. Just do that. If the bare minimum looks like this, man, this is outstanding.
For me, it's like keep it simple, keep it sexy. Keep it simple, keep it sexy. And the things like, as you mentioned, like I don't sit down with the person too much, like get to know the person like too much, because for me it's insane. In German you say Mittel zum Zweck, I just actually need the shape. I just need the shape of the face,
That's why sit down and hold still, and that's about it.
More or less, to be honest,
But that's so cool. It's there are many photographers that like go very into deep to set this a type of mood with the person you're portraying. But I think it can be necessary, but it doesn't have to be necessary, because you're taking it further, and sometimes it's just it's a starting point to something different.
For example, if you let's say you're a Hollywood photographer and everything's so busy, the client only has like 30 seconds. He comes in, The set has to be already set, you know?
Yeah.
Everything should be measured and stuff. You just have to sit down, okay? And the manager's like, okay, you got 30 seconds. Then we have to leave again. Sometimes you don't have like an hour.
Yeah.
For example, I took photographs of Idris Alba back when I was 23 in London. So it was for his EP because he used to do music and stuff. Yeah. And had like a connection because my friend Ken, his girlfriend, she's his best friend, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually a shooting day, so they flew me into London, which is pretty exciting, you know. And we got the studio, and it was like, we got a whole day, you know, with Idris, like 8 hours. I was like, cool. And then it was like, hey, we only have 2 hours. Oh no, we only have 4 hours. And I was like, okay, Idris only got 2 hours. And then it was like, Idris has only 1 hour. So we prepared everything in the studio. Idris came into the studio. He immediately took off his shirt because we did some illustrations after that, you know. Mm-hmm. He immediately took off his shirt and was in front of the camera, and he was like on point. He was like looking to the camera and stuff. And it was like it was not even an hour. We took the photographs.
Amazing. You need to show me those. If there is anything that
there's a result. There's a result. It's on my website. on a different website.
Okay.
I got the fine art stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got the commercial
stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so that's the example for you don't always have time.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's about setting those expectations. I think if you work the other way, but the other way is like if I do the minimum in the minimum amount is like that I still have a valid example is like this is a great shot.
Yeah.
And if you have more time, you can do more of that.
Yeah.
But don't work the other way. Don't take those 8 hours and gonna do this and this and this, and then you trickle down, and then you don't have a result. Yeah. Like, what do I want to achieve at the bare minimum? And if there is more time, we can be even more creative.
Yeah.
And I think there's a very, very nice truth into that because it's not that we have that time to create sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. So if you got the time, you make great results. You can make like safety shots.
Yeah.
That's how you call it, right? Make safety shots.
Yeah.
And then, but you still you save already, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And it's also like not examples, of course. I think it's some like Oscar or Grammys. I don't know, backstage, you know.
Yeah.
Not even 10 seconds. Packed photographs.
That's it. If you don't get it, you don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm interested in one thing with any person that does anything. It's like, when do you know that you're finished?
That's a good question. When do you know that I'm finished? In terms of the work in the darkroom?
Yeah. When it's like, I'm done. This is how it's going to be. I'm going to frame this like this. I'm going to put it right there.
This is the result. I'm more or less easily satisfied. But the results are also very good, you know. So, for example,
it was the most calm and awesome, like I'm the man speech, which I love so much. This is so good and so refreshing to hear. But go on, man.
Yeah. For example, if you see the flat iron next to the door, this was a one-timer. I was like, wow, that's it. I don't do second ones, you know.
Yeah.
You know. And at some point, I did another one, flat iron. I think it was years after with the matte paper. Mm-hmm. Same result. I was like, wow, that's the one. And it's often like that, but not too much, you know. For example, there's one picture of New York, the Dumbo. Mm-hmm. At the beginning, I was like, because I had to save money. Because it's a huge print, and I did it somewhere else. To save money, I just did this one print, and it took me some time to like it. Plus, also with black and white photography, after all the going through the chemicals and doing the Wässerung, the watering stuff, you know, and getting it dry and stuff. The black and white sometimes gets more saturated.
Yeah.
Time after time, you know.
Yeah.
So actually now I'm like super satisfied with the result, with the contrast and stuff, you know. And I do like the crumple, but it was too bright for me. The paper, like the light, the exposure was too bright. Mm-hmm. But now after like I don't know 3 years, it's like
So your work gets better without you doing anything about it. That's the most pragmatic version of photography.
Actually, when I do the test prints, I should wait until tomorrow and I look at the prints because they get like darker a little bit, you know. And I'm like, okay, that's the exposure. So I'm gonna go into the darkroom the next day and do it with this exposure. Because sometimes you don't really see clear. Yeah, it's.
Is your creative process when I get to call it that that you, I don't know, turn up a Jimi Hendrix song, or that you do anything, or is it silent, or what is there some energy going into that?
I actually play music when I'm in the darkroom. Yeah, I do play music. It's sometimes it's like Steely Dan in this direction, Toto, Boss Skaggs, or last time it was I think more like a punk rock theme, because I used to play in a punk rock band when I was 15. You know, so I love punk rock, and I was at a punk rock festival even this year in May. So
does because music, you said, even if you're not a professional musician, it's like the way you jammed before, it was for me like, how can you not call yourself a professional? You were one. I used to, but it is the music part, and you said you're a DJ, and for me you're an entertainer. A person that is entertaining, being it with the art, being it with your DJing, being it you're very. I will say it in the beginning, or I said it in the beginning when you watched the video back. It's like you're a larger than life person in the best way possible.
Even like physically.
No, no. But a larger than life person, which I and it energy like. Exudes from you. It goes out from you, which I love so much. So the fact of does the music part influence you in general, or is this a general view of your life, how you do your art?
My photography is like punk rock. It's also something like political, you know. And at some point, my photography is also something like kind of subtle political. It's about breaking stereotypes. It is about discrimination.
You portrayed black people.
Yeah.
The fact how you do your art is like to crumble it up, to deconstruct it, is to basically break those stereotypes of a black person, not being portrayed as what maybe society tells you. So my question here is, how do you feel if you make such a political, not statement, but that you work towards a better understanding of the world? Does it give pressure to you as an artist?
The pressure was differently, because I used to be with a gallery, and he told me like, my racism doesn't sell. We can't, don't do that anymore, blah, blah, blah. And actually I stopped, you know, and I'm gaining back like some confidence and motivation to work towards this direction. Because it's really important to show people what's up, you know. So actually, the series what I did, which I exhibited in the museum, which was really cool because I got more exposure. I actually took those stereotypes. So actually, I took the gangster, I took the rapper, I took the drug dealer, I took the criminal and stuff, you know. I tried to like deconstruct it, you know. Like the title of the exhibition was like, "They Don't Care About Us," and I had like two types of titles. They think we are criminals. Yeah. Whatever, and then you get like, they don't want us to be educated, happy, confident, for example. And then there was like one huge picture that I produced. It's a guy with a suit, black guy with a suit, and he's holding a passport in his hand. It's an Austrian passport, and the title of the picture is "The Illusion of Inclusion." And it's about that society doesn't always accept you, although you're like...
Even if the documentation and everything...
You're wearing the suit, you got a nice job and stuff. You know?
They still see... Society sees behind that, and still, even if you've done basically everything, you can still not scrape it off or put it away. So first of all, super sad to hear, but I think fantastic from your side to show this and to really give it some attention in a I think a very not subtle way, but very soft way, because it's nothing that you can basically be against. because it's just like I portray those people and whatever you think, and it's a discussion that you will have within you when you look at the pictures.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best type of first discussion that you should have is like, what does it make me feel? And second of all, why does it make me feel that? And I think what a lot of people do is they only think about the first questions, like, what does it make me feel? And then they immediately express that. They don't go that second round. It's like, and why do I feel that way? Why am I against it or for it? Why do I think it's beautiful? With my heritage, with my whatever, with my consciousness. Mm-hmm. And when you ask that second question, I think this is a therapeutical thing that happens within you when you look at art. Like, oh my God, like I've never thought about this aspect in my life, and like why I think about that. So I think that's gorgeous what you do there, man. So congrats to that. Is there anything on the horizon that you say, I'm gonna switch, I wanna try, I wanna shoot Jay-Z, are there any bigger dreams?
There are, yeah.
Will you let us in?
Yeah,
you don't have to,
actually,
obviously.
When I was on tour with James, I got to know a couple people. There was a guy, he's a lawyer, and he's a lawyer of Kendrick Lamar. And when I thought about like Kendrick Lamar, I was like, okay, Kendrick Lamar is actually covering the same topic as I do, you know? And I wanted to actually make a proposal, you know, which I can send. And I was talking to Universal Music, and then I talked to a friend who lives in LA. He was like, yeah, I know his tour manager, maybe I can like, you know, send it through. Yeah. And I never did it, but this was like one of my goals because I think this is something that I want to do. Maybe if it's not a album cover, you know, but at least a photograph, you know.
Like, it shouldn't be an album cover, but of course.
No, it should be. But even if it's not, it's okay, you know, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
But I can imagine that, you know, with just imagine
you
see this portrait, something like that.
Yeah,
on the streets.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I love that, and it's not confidence; it's the trust in your art.
Yeah,
confidence can be self-generated but hypothetical because you think I'm confident, I can do that without having the skill to it. You can be confident without backing it up.
Yeah.
And you have this trust in yourself, in your art, in the way you do things that is like, yeah, it should obviously be an album cover because it just fits.
Yeah, it fits.
Exactly. And I love that. I will adopt this to my way of going about whatever I do, being a photographer, being a dad, writing a script or whatever. Just have this trust in yourself. Yeah. Confidence is always that other people seem, oh, he's very confident, he's big, and no. Have the trust in yourself, have the trust in your art, and the rest will follow. Man, I love you so much. I want to before we stop. You took this camera, and because it's called Talking Cameras, you took this one to Sardinia where we met the last time to the wedding. It's a Contax G1, and it's obviously analog. And do you take this specific camera just around, or is it just lying there and whenever you like think about it, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna do it?
I used to walk around with the camera like back in the days, but since like doing all the art stuff, I don't shoot that much, like frequently, like, you know. So when I was in Sardinia, I was like, okay, should I take the F100 with me, or should I take the smaller camera? Because already I got like stuff with me, so I thought like keep it small, and so I took this camera with me, and it's kind of sweet. I love this camera.
Is the roll still in there from the?
Actually, no. I will have to. I still have to develop it. Yeah.
Okay. Are you gonna develop it by yourself?
Yeah, I do everything in-house. In-house production.
In-house production. That's amazing. Yeah. So, do you also digitize the photos then, or
not
barely?
Anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
You have to come here to visit the good stuff.
Yeah.
To see the good stuff.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man. The fact that you don't basically document your life in photography every day is like perfectly fine to you.
Yeah, it's sometimes sad. I was like, I wish I took more photographs, you know, even just with my phone, you know.
Yeah.
But
But I think
I
the
can't
phone
li-
is so detached from a large format camera. It's so vastly different.
Of course, but it's about documenting life. You know?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and sometimes, the thing is like I live in the moment. I really live a lot in the moment. That's why I don't document stuff. It's kind of strange. I should be. Maybe I shouldn't. But
do you journal? Do you write down stuff?
I do write down stuff, but not too much. Actually, when I did a water fast last year and this year, and that's where I actually, and during this time I do a journal. That's where I just write my thoughts. I will never read it again, but it's like maybe I do. But just write, even if it's just one word.
That came to your mind. Yeah, but that's it.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna go around and have a look at the studio. Man, to say it really humbly, it was a fantastic experience. I love the energy. I love your work. This is much more than I expected. It's like it already looks so big and so important. And I know you, and now I know more about the artist behind, the person behind it, because the energy it feels. So, man, thank you for taking the time.
I appreciate it
so much. We will do more with each other, and I'm excited to check the studio out, man. Thanks so much.